And I'll briefly thank you, organizers, for having me here. It's really great to be here. Today we're talking about how to be a messenger marketing unicorn in a sea of donkeys. On the agenda today, we'll mostly be talking about unicorns, but hopefully we'll have a little bit of time for messenger marketing. Just kidding. Before we get into all the tactics and hacks and tips and tricks, I wanted to introduce myself briefly. My name is Larry Kim. I'm slightly obsessed with unicorns. I'm kind of known for starting this company called WordStream out of a bakery in 2008. I started out kind of like all of you, like all of us here, like an internet marketer. I just discovered it from some other field, and started working out of a Panera Bread because of the free Diet Coke refills and free rent and free Wi-Fi. It's kind of like a really great office. The companies grew a lot over the last decade to about over 300 people. It became the world's leading provider of search engine marketing software, managing $1 billion of ad spend for tens of thousands of companies worldwide. Grew the company from literally nothing to about 55 million in revenues last year, 60 million in earnings, and I was able to sell the business in July of last year to USA Today for $150 million. And that was just in July, so it's pretty crazy because you don't actually make a lot of money when you're a founder. Like you pay yourself nothing basically. But like a couple of people asked me, like, what's that like to sell a business for that amount? And basically it's kind of a relief because you're putting yourself out there as like a kind of a marketing, help you grow your business kind of person. It would have been pretty embarrassing if it didn't have a successful outcome. So quite a relief actually. It's a joke. I started a new business a year ago. It's in the Facebook Messenger marketing platform because I'm really excited about this space. I think it's like really transformative, and I think you should be really spending some time here. The company's called Mobile Monkey. And so back to our story, enough about me. We're talking about why should Facebook advertisers care so much about chatbot and messenger marketing. Just a couple of stats here. There's more daily active users on messaging platforms than on social media, yet less than 1% of businesses have any ability to do any sort of automatic messaging to those customers on those platforms. I see a couple of people taking photographs. You can get the slides here. This isn't like the Middle Ages here. We can download them. Just kidding. It's a 1.3 billion daily active users, and the engagement rates are through the roof, guys. It's like it's just crazy. So this is like just first mover advantage kind of thing. It's about 100 times better than what you'll get in social media or email marketing in terms of the engagements that you can drive through messaging. So most people will agree with me on those statistics. It's just where the confusion comes up is like, how do they specifically leverage this technology to sell stuff, or and that's kind of what I want to talk to you about today. I personally think of chatbots as sort of a combination of email marketing and landing pages. All right, so a lot of confusion. People think of chatbots as like Siri or Google Home and that kind of nonsense. I think of it as email and a landing page, because basically what we're doing is we can send out push notifications, kind of like email, but then we can introduce all this kind of interactive functionality like you could in a web page, where you could take a registration or have them fill out a survey or something like that. And so it's a really hot space. I kind of think this is the growth marketing hack of the next 5 years, at least. Like I said, there's only a few 100,000 businesses that actually have chatbots right now out of 100 million Facebook businesses out there. And so I can tell you how it used to work. So two and a half years ago, if you wanted to do Facebook Messenger marketing, there was that stupid blue button on your page, and if someone messaged your business, those messages would end up in a dumping ground known as the Facebook page inbox, which nobody ever checked, and those messages would just die. If you were really kind of an overachiever, you could go into that page inbox and manually respond to those messages, and those messages would be then sent to the user's mobile phone, like to their messenger screen. All right, and basically, because no one was doing that, Facebook released an API 2 years ago, which is just programming and stuff like this, and it's pretty complicated, but it allows companies like Mobile Monkey, like my company, to then programmatically download all the contacts from your Facebook page, as well as import all the conversation history to allow you to do chat blasting. So sending out messages to all your contacts, sequences and all this stuff. This is Mobile Monkey, and basically the way that this works is you just create some content to send to your subscribers, and it's very similar to how in email marketing you'll insert some images and text. You just specify a list of people to send the message to, and then you can either schedule or blast away. And it's kind of like email, but it's actually a lot better than email, because what we're doing is we're sending out push notifications on Messenger that are insanely more engaging than email. There's no expectation on email that you can ever reply to these things, but in chat you can do signups and stuff like this. And so one use case that I use chat blasting for is just content marketing. So I do a lot of blogging, and Neil Patel is actually on my list, if you can believe that. And I know that he reads my stuff because I can see his little avatar there. Every time I do a blast, I send it out through email, but I also send it out through chat. And some of you might be wondering, this seems a little spammy, sending all this chat messages to people. How does this compare to email? I have some data to share with you here. So I was mentioning I do content marketing where I send out the same blog posts on email, but I also send that same content through chat to my chat subscribers. And what you can see here is that on the left there, that's my MailChimp stats. I'm working really hard to get those 20% open rates. So that's actually pretty high, above average. Typically, it's more like 5 to 10%. But the real problem is the clicks. You're talking about 1 to 2% click-through rates of the people who open the messages, and that's really terrible. Chat, on the other hand, you get 60 to 80% read rates and 10 to 20% open rates, click rates, like people who click on the buttons, and that's roughly 60, 80, 100 times more engaging than the alternative. And so, if you think that the chat is spammy or something, I actually think that's baloney, because sure, maybe you could trick people to reading the message, right? Because you're triggering the push notification, but why the heck would they then click on those links in the chat message, at a rate of 5 to 10 times more higher than email? And so, I think my takeaway here is that I think people would love to engage with businesses, provided it's businesses that they actually signed up for. You see what I'm saying? With email, you can just buy a list of emails and just blast them, regardless of whether they subscribe to you. The content isn't that dynamic. It's just these long spams and everything. And even if you get when I get spammed, I'm not really sure if I should unsubscribe, because it's I never subscribed to this list in the first place. So it's if I click on this button, will they just add me to 3 more lists? Because they know that it's a live one. So I think chat is very interesting from a privacy perspective. It addresses a lot of the problems with email. That's kind of why I'm excited about it. I wanted to tell you a little bit about the basics of creating these chatbot experiences, the building blocks here. That thing on the left there is a chat marketing experience. A user is talking to a bot that's a robot. It's not a human operator that's talking to them. This is a registration form. We're asking them to sign up for a webinar. Like I said, we're combining email and website marketing. The question is, how do you do this? Again, most people just use a visual builder rather than writing software like Mobile Monkey. There's 2 types of content that you can send to your customers. There's static content, and there's dynamic content. These images take forever to create, you guys. Static content, it's pretty basic. It's like text and images. There's others, which when sent to the user just looks pretty simple. There's a lot of other things that you can dump in there, like videos, PDF files, those types of attachments that you can send using chat. The dynamic chat elements, that's where you're kind of like a website where you're trying to collect information like their name and their, their budget, etc. And so those are called quick questions and forms that you're adding. It's just like a website, where you would have either multiple choice questions or different like text input fields that you could have people fill out and store and save. And basically, when you send this content over to the user, that's what that looks like. You're kind of asking and answering questions from the user in an interactive way. And so I think the holy grail here in terms of chat marketing is that you can really segment the audience based on their actual identity. So like, you could ask people these discriminating questions like, are you an agency or an in-house marketer? And depending how people answer these questions, you could send them down different funnels or dialogues because, we have really high degree of confidence that we know because they're providing the information that this is correct. Another really cool thing is that you can define custom audiences based on conversational criteria. So if you wanted to create a list of all the people who self-declared as agencies, you could create a custom audience so that you could then create a mailing list, a distribution list, to send them like very specific content. For example, like a webinar specifically for agency marketers. And when you combine this high engagement medium with a very, very targeted list building capabilities, you end up with fireworks. It's a very mobile friendly medium. You can get people to pre-fill all the email, phone number, location, all that information Facebook already has. So we can pre-fill buttons. They don't have to type that stuff in. That reduces errors, like people putting in phony data. There's in terms of the experiences, like the navigation of this kind of experience, there's two different ways to do this. There's button-based navigation and there's natural language processing. So button-based navigation, this is like 99% of the experiences out there. It's a little bit like when you call a store and there's a phone tree that says like press 1 for sales, press 2 for services, etc. What we're doing is we're just providing a menu, a concrete menu of what are the features and functions that are provided by this bot experience, and this is really easy to do. The other way of doing it is kind of like more like Siri or Alexa, where you're you don't have a menu and you have these very open-ended questions like, how can I help you? This is really hard to do. It's when you have so much functionality to expose that it can't possibly fit in a menu of buttons. And so how do you do that? It's pretty simple. What you do is, as you're creating the content, you tag it with keywords. So it's a little like in AdWords how you pick keywords that trigger ads. All right. Here, what you're doing is you're creating chat dialogues and then tagging them with triggers, so that when somebody kind of chats kind of the something to your bot, the AI will analyze the intent of what the user is asking for, and then if there's a match with the content inventory that you have, we can serve that to the user. Because there's so many different questions that people ask. One thing that these bots do is they actually keep an inventory of unanswered questions. So, for example, two people actually asked me, how do you know my name? And so what you can do, it's kind of like a search query report in Google AdWords where you can review unanswered questions and provide answers for them, so that the next time someone asks that same question, it'll be answered. And of course, these chatbots, you could still jump in at any time, like the old way of doing things, where you would manually go into the page inbox and manually respond. And typically what these chatbots do is they shut themselves up if a human operator is engaging with a client. So we're at part 3 already. I wanted to talk a little bit about a couple tips on how to chat blast like a master blaster. And I want to give you my 2 or 3 best tips. Number 1 has to do with invoking the psychological principle of consistency. And this is just like a human kind of a characteristic there where we like when we're engaging in a dialogue with someone, if you can just kind of have empathy towards me. So just think of it like a therapist who just repeats back everything you say. So it's like, oh, I have problems with my kids, and the therapist says, oh, you have problems with your kids. Like it just goes on and on like that. So essentially, in this example, I'm just trying to sell chatbot marketing a chatbot marketing course. But I'm asking the user a question. I'm not leading with like buy my damn thing. I'm leading with, as it pertains to messenger marketing, how would you describe yourself? A novice, a fan, or an expert? It doesn't even matter what they answer, because I'm going to try to sell them the same thing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to like reflect back, elements of the conversation, that the user like. I'm going to reflect back the user's identity so that I can build a rapport with that person, because we know that this is a tactic that works. Another example is to build kind of like a sense of reasonableness into your bot. So this is known as reciprocal concessions. This is like if you have a kid and the kid asks me, hey, Dad, can I have an Xbox? And I'm like, no. Can I have a go-kart? No. Can I have a cookie? Yes. Like, what did he just do to me? He made me perceive that he's being more reasonable by making these concessions, and therefore if I perceive that my son is being more reasonable, I in turn will be more likely to kind of return the favor, if that makes sense. And so you can invoke these, like car salesmen do this every day, like oh, let me talk to my manager. It's like, I don't know, like you can invoke these kind of conversational tactics in chats, like, hey guys, hey Larry, we're offering this training video for $199. What do you think? 99% of people say it's too expensive. That's fine, because the next dialogue just says, well, you know what, you're right, it is too expensive. So would you like a 94% discount and get the thing for, now they're anchored on $200, and this feels a lot cheaper, and suddenly I feel like I'm special. So there's a lot of these kind of conversational conversion tactics that are tried and true in the sales world that were impossible to implement on a static landing page, which you can actually invoke in a chatbot, which dramatically impacts conversion. I want to talk about how to grow your contact list a little bit, because chatbot marketing, like email marketing, isn't that interesting if you only have like 5 emails or 3 contacts. In the olden days of marketing, the goal was to send traffic to a squeeze page so that we could collect their email address, so that we could be on the top of their inbox all the time. This, of course, is very hard to do these days, because the costs of driving traffic to a page is more and more expensive, and the conversion rates are awful. Today, the goal here to get these subscribers is to get people to message your business. So that's the subscription, is where you get people to message you, and then you receive permission to message them back in perpetuity until they unsubscribe. So a couple ways to get people to message your business. What we're not going to do is just wait forever for people to just click on that blue button, because that's kind of like waiting forever. There's maybe 5 or 6 different tactics. One of them is called a postcard, a comment guard, and so what this is where you attach autoresponders to your Facebook posts, so that if someone comments on that, you can send a private reply back to the individual, which then is engaging with your bot, so they become a subscriber. So how do you use the comment guards to grow your subscriber list? You post comment bait, okay? So you post those things that everyone has an opinion on. So like this is like RIP Facebook newsfeed for publishers. Yeah, I think it has something like 714 comments on this post, because everyone was like kind of up in arms about this change. And so for everyone who posted on this post, I sent them back a guide on how to maximize your Facebook engagement rates. Okay. Another kind of idea is to rethink your posting strategies. I think a lot of people, we post kind of these declarative statements, like these announcements on our wall. A more interesting way of doing this using messaging is to ask questions. This is just a quiz or a riddle. It's like the battle of the English and the math. One rabbit saw 6 elephants while going to the river. Every elephant saw 2 monkeys. Each one was holding a parrot. How many animals are going to the river? It's ridiculous. But basically, the question is, type your guess in the comments field, and I'll send you an explanation of the actual answer privately through Messenger. So you can envision doing contests or giveaways using the comment garden. As the previous speaker was saying, it has an algorithmic benefits because the more people comment on this post, the more visibility it receives, which generates more comments, and around we go. Stupid machine learning. Basically, how do you set up these comment guards? It's you just create a dialogue of content to send to the user. You specify a frequency cap, so that's like you wouldn't want to send the same message to the same person twice within the same day or twice within the same hour, and then you choose which post to apply that comment guard to. You can apply to every post on your wall, on your page, or specific answers to specific posts. Another way to get people to subscribe is via these new landing page buttons. And so that's this thing here. So you just insert the blue button, and if they click on the blue button, then you can send them content through Messenger and have them subscribe to your page. A last one here has to do with a chat widget, and I think this is really amazing because a lot of people use these chat widgets on their sites where it's anonymous, and so your customer service or sales team could be talking to someone for 10-15 minutes, and then they just close the window, and you have no freaking idea who that person was or how to get back in touch with them. So with the Messenger chat, you get their identity, so you have their real identity as well as messaging permissions. So I can send them chat blasts to follow up, or I can remarket to them, etc., etc. There's other ways like the checkbox plugin where you have people opting in to your receiving messages from you. If you're asking for emails, why aren't you also asking for messaging permissions? Because those are worth about 100 times more than the emails in terms of the expected engagement rates and delivery rates. So the last thing I want to talk to you today about is Facebook Messenger ads. All right, so because this is Facebook Ads Mastery Live, I wanted to talk about this new ad format. It's relatively new, about a year old. Facebook Messenger ads. Problem with Facebook ads, I've been doing this for 6-7 years now, is they've gotten really expensive. When I started doing this, for the audiences that I was targeting, they were $1 CPM, and today it's closer to $100 CPMs for the same kind of digital marketers that I'm going after, and that's just over the past 6 years. And so I've dramatically changed some of my strategies to just stop doing them. What I do mostly is these send to messenger ads, because they have a very significantly different conversion characteristics, where anyone who presses that button gets added to my contact list, and I receive their identity, their personal identifiable information. And so it's kind of like running an ad, like a lead ad, where you're getting 100% conversion rate, because anyone who clicks that button, we get their information, and as well as the ability to do push notifications back to them. And so if you think about the old way of doing, click campaigns where you're buying clicks to your website, those are expensive. It's $2, $3, $4, $5 a click. And typically, even if you have a good offer, maybe it's 3, 4, 5, 6% conversion rates. It means 98% of them aren't converting. Whereas, using messenger ads, everyone who clicks gets opted into my drip streams. I get all their information, and that's really a better deal, I think. So Facebook ads, I think, are really interesting because it's fundamentally different from just regular Facebook advertising. And for regular Facebook advertising, we're making assumptions. We are, assuming that our offer will resonate with this demographic of people based on, Facebook's kind of characterization of their browsing behavior or their likes and shares, or, or the content that they engage in. Whereas in chat marketing, we're not making any assumptions anymore. We can just ask open-ended questions and try to figure out exactly who that person is and what pushes their buttons, and sell them very specific products and services with very specific angles. It really puts the customer in control. You can design these funnels that are very, very engaging. I wanted to give you a very specific example of how to set up one of these messenger ads. It's very similar in some ways to creating an engagement ad or a click campaign or a conversion campaign in Facebook ads, except you choose this different objective. And then you have to create the creative for this. So in this example, I'm just trying to promote one of my online conferences. So it was like a Facebook Ads Summit, and basically you create the content. But the difference here is the tip that I have for you for messenger ads is to not try to sell the whole thing in the ad, okay? But rather to ask an icebreaker, like trying to start the conversation. You don't have to sell right away with a messenger ad, because you get their messaging permissions and you can do all sorts of follow-ups with them. It's so high stakes with click campaigns, because if you don't convert them on that, on that click, it's like you don't have a lot of chances here. You have to pay for remarketing. These subsequent messages that you send are actually free, so you don't have to sell. You can just kind of build the relationship and ask them questions. The offers can come later. As soon as they click, Facebook will give you their first name, last name, gender, locale, time zone, profile photo, and other personal identification information, as well as messaging permissions, which is like more valuable than an email address. You also can retain all of the conversational history. So all the things that they type and all the information that they say about themselves during the conversation, that's stored so that you can use that to build your own custom audiences. What we're doing here, we're trying to develop a relationship with this person who's talking to the bot. You can create custom audiences based on different segmentations. Like I want all those people who said that they work at an agency or whatever, and so that we can send those people who click on the ads through these different messenger funnels that really try to segment out the customer based on the discriminating kind of criteria that kind of will determine how you go about selling your products and services. So this is just designing a chatbot, funnel or a dialogue using the strategies that I was previously mentioning with questions and segmentation, and basically you just create those dialogues, and those are your landing pages for the messenger ads. So like in a click campaign, you're sending them to like a landing page on a website. In a messenger ad, you're sending them into a dialogue that you create. They could have many different pathways, and so basically the way that you do this is you need to just generate a special unique code for the dialogue that you've created, and it's just basically some auto-generated code that you generate from the dialogue that you've created. You then insert those parameters into the Facebook Ad Manager, where it says URL parameters and Messenger setup JSON code. So you insert that code there, and then Facebook knows to send people who click on that ad, that Messenger ad, into that funnel that you've created. So I just wanted to show you the ad in real life. Here it is. It's kind of trying to get people into the excited about my conference. It's asking things like, are you an agency or an advertiser? Great. It's talking up the event from the perspective of their identity. That's the principle of consistency. We're getting people to assert that they wanna join, and then we finally, after that little bit of interaction, we send them to this registration page, and even which has a 65% conversion rate. But even if they're the 33% that don't convert, I have messaging permissions which I can use to drip them and get them to convert in the next day or two. And so once you achieve that messaging permission, there's post-click strategies. One of them is just a drip campaign. So this is a sequence of messages that you send. It could be event-based or time-based. So, 5 minutes later, send this. 10 minutes later, send this. It's just a sequence of messages. Another thing that you do is you'll take the information that you derived from messaging and push it to your system of record, wherever that is, like Salesforce or HubSpot or whatever. Another really interesting thing is you can create conversationally, custom audiences based on what people say. Okay, so like if they declare themselves as having certain interests, you can create a custom audience. You can upload those as custom audiences into Facebook ads, so you can remarket to them, those products and services that they were expressing interest with, and of course. This is just you can always do chat blasts. So usually the companies they'll kind of do these targeted campaigns, but they'll also have this one big list of all their contacts, and periodically, once a week or whatever, there'll be some new newsletter announcement. Like they'll just blast the entire list, and you can do that too. Facebook Messenger ads are remarkably effective. Typically, if I try to do webinar registrations using click campaigns, it's roughly $100 to $300 a click, or sorry, per registration, which is awful. With Messenger ads, because I'm getting the registrations for every click, it's closer to $3 to $5 for those registrations. And it's not just the cost per lead that's really interesting. I can double the attendance rates of these webinars by sending a reminder, like a push notification, to the users 15 minutes before the event starts, and that's like a subscription messaging that's free. So Messenger ads, I'm really excited about them. They're qualified because we're not making inferences. We're actually asking the user and engaging with them. They are. You will sell more because you're building a kind of a robotic rapport with these customers as you're using the psychological hacks that I was telling you about to really engage them. People are 2 to 3 times more likely to convert with the brands that they've heard of and engaged with before. And so in summary, I just wanted to talk a little bit. You can kind of wrap up my top 5 Messenger chatbot marketing hacks. Thank you everyone for joining me on this epic journey from Donkey Land to Unicorn Land, where we discussed my 5 chatbot marketing hacks for today. Talking about chat blasting, how to build these interactive, messenger funnels or dialogues. We talked about how to, automate questions and answers, and how to generate contact lists, tips and tricks for how to blast these amazing chat blasts, as well as how to use Facebook ads in conjunction with your chatbot experiences. What does it all mean? Like, kind of wrapping it up. When I think about messenger marketing and the kind of the potential for the future, I think of chatbots as a top of the funnel, marketing automation tool for lead generation, lead qualification, online advertising. If people tell you that they view chatbots as customer service tools, I think that's terrible. Like, I think the biggest weakness of chatbots today is that they feel like broken search engines, right? Like, so like their ability to actually field customer service questions with really good accuracy is pretty terrible. I think the things that the chatbots do really well is just kind of the customer segmentation, online advertising, and the stuff that we talked about today. There is a once in a generational shift happening today in terms of how consumers want to communicate, people overwhelmingly prefer messaging over email marketing. We haven't seen a shift like this for 25 years since email overtook phone calls, if you can believe that. It's really important that businesses meet them, in those chat mediums. Last month there was a leak from the New York Times saying that Facebook is integrating WhatsApp, Instagram, and Messenger, or Insta Whatinger, as I like to call it. That's coming next year. This will be an enormous opportunity to rival like the ubiquity of email in terms of a messaging platform. I mean, like, who doesn't have either an Instagram account, a WhatsApp account, or a Messenger account? You see what I'm saying? And if you're one of them, it's possible that you might not be a great target audience because you're a Luddite. Anyways, thank you very much. The slides are available. Have a great day. Thank you.